That's Peter Holsapple from his new album, The Face of 68. Yep, the former DB and Continental Drifter is contemplating his age, but he's making great music while he's doing it. We begin our chat talking about the fertile music scene his hometown of Durham, North Carolina has hosted over the years.
She probably thinks I'm pretty great.
From the 70s on in North Carolina, there's a lot of stuff before that, obviously. People like Charlie Poole, in the 20s and all. But when you start getting to the kind of the rock stuff, it stays constant, and there's always something going on. When the DBs left to live in New York in the late 70s, there was already a huge bunch of bands that were springing up that were all signed by a local label or two and put out records. And that just begat everything. And, we've ended up with like Merge Records and Super Chunk and kind of huge stuff. So that's kind of neat.
And is there anything about the location that affects the music that comes out of there? Is there a common theme or something that ties everybody together, do you think? Or not? Maybe I'm reaching.
That's a tough one. It's all over the place with that. But I like to think of it in terms of North Carolina sees itself as the beach and the mountains. So you have both accessible in a day's drive. And we're also conveniently located midway between Miami and New York. So you've got that going for
it. Exactly. Location is everything. Very good. Okay, so now we got a new album coming out. It's called The Face of 68. And at first when I saw the title, I thought you were going to be covering tunes from 1968. But then I realized it's more to do with age than the time, the year. And so maybe you can elaborate on that. What caused you to kind of ponder the age that you were when you made this record?
Well, I think when you're of a certain age and you're not pursuing all the stuff that you did as a younger songwriter and guitar player, and that was a lot of stuff, believe me. I'm constantly amazed that I've been able to stagger into the future so blithely, but I did. So I'm not writing about the same stuff that I wrote about in the DBs or even in the Continental Drifters. Right. It's a different day. It's 2025, and this is a record of getting older and reflecting on things. It's in the forefront of my mind. I mean, you can't pass a day on social media without learning about someone's departure. And, they mean different things to you, and some are family and some just feel like family. Yeah. So the loss of any of that stuff is, I don't grieve in a really good way, because I have to write songs about it, because I can't grieve.
Gotcha.
That's my grief.
Excellent. Now, I think we're of similar vintage. I think I'm a few months older than you are, so we're probably have a similar. I moved to Auckland from Rochester, New York, which I believe the DBs played there a few times, at least once I remember. So back in the early 80s.
Yes, we did.
So,
do you know my friend Pat Thomas from?
Oh yes, I do know.
Pat is one of the most incredible people I know, and he's got a brand new book about the Evergreen review that just came out. It's very exciting.
Yep. Oh, Pat, he was in a band called Absolute Gray back in the day.
That's right. He even interviewed me when the DBs came up there, and I found him to be just absolutely abominable. And I was like, oh my God, this guy, what is he talking about?
Right.
And, and then eventually we re-met. I can't even remember the circumstances of it, but it was like he's become one of my very favorite people in the world. So,
right.
Glad you know him.
Oh, yes. Well, that kind of leads me to want to talk about your song called That Kind of Guy, because he's that kind of guy. And I do have a copy of Repeat When Necessary, as I'm sure Pat does. So
there you go. You got to have the visual aids on that.
Oh, yeah.
I got a love supreme. I got a soft machine. I got the Dave Clark 5. I got Slay Live. I got a Shonen knife. I got Repeat When Necessary. Repeat When Necessary.
on both sides of the record store count. You know, I've worked retail records for years is what I did. I worked out in New York. I worked it in, I almost had a gig at Pop Tunes in Memphis when I lived there briefly before I moved to New York. They offered me a job like a day before I moved. But anyway, I did that in New Orleans for years also, at Borders. And I had a ball doing it. I like the sort of missionary aspect of listenership. I think it's really incumbent upon you, if you think something is really good, to let other people know about it. I mean, it's a vacuum otherwise, isn't it? I mean,
right. Well, that's part of the charm and the thrill of having a physical record store rather than just buying, going down a rabbit hole on YouTube somewhere. I remember, you probably know Greg Prevost, who was in Chesterfield Kings as well. Yeah. So he was my guy. He worked at the Great House of Guitars. I'd come in.
Right.
He'd tell me all of the great records, the 45s I needed to buy right then. I bought everything he told me to do, and I never regretted a thing.
See, I had young customers at the store in New York that I worked at, the Musical Maze, which was a wonderful store. It was one of two in a small chain that kind of got put out of business after Tower got there, because we struggled. We had to deal with smaller distributors, and we didn't know what we were going to pay for import records and stuff. But we had a great 45 selection. We always tried to keep that going. We had some of the first guys that were doing breakbeats for the earliest rap records. They would come down for tracks. They wanted tracks. They wanted instrumental stuff. I kept trying to sell them on the drum break from Big Black Truck, my first single, which is a rockabilly thing that Mitch Easter played through an Echoplex, but weren't buying it.
They weren't buying it.
I could have been in on the ground floor or something.
There you go. Well, I'm just doing a radio show about Toys in the Attic, the Aerosmith album, because it was released 50 years ago this week. And, of course, it's got Walk This Way, and that drum track that just kicks it off is a classic for that kind of thing. And, of course, Run DMC picked up on that right away. So there you go.
I have to say, so I've become a little more mellow about sampling for things like that, especially like drum beats, because I just think there's great drums and there's great things you can do with that. And I think that everybody should get compensated for sure, but I don't think it's unusable to do that.
Yeah.
The drummer on my record is Rob Ladd.
Right.
And Rob played with Dixon, Don Dixon, my producer.
Yep.
And a guy named Jamie Hoover from the Sponge Tones, who you probably also know. And
Sure.
they were called Me and Dixon, and they went out on the Hootie tour, one of the Hootie tours, and opened a bunch of shows. And I would watch Ladd out there. Rob's out there, and he's got the headphones on, and he's grooving so hard. And he'll play with a track, it's like a sample loop. And he's just so spot on. It's unbelievable. I think that's one of the places that I kind of decided I really want to work with this guy.
Right. And the other guy you work with is what? Robert Sledge, who's the bass player?
And Robert Sledge also is great. I did not really know Robert until a few years ago. I was, and I confess to still being somewhat unfamiliar with the Ben Folds 5 material, but I know it was huge and very popular. And he is just a savant bass player, musical guy. He knows where to fit. Right. He knows exactly how much to play and exactly how much not to play. He listened to my demos. Both of those guys, they listened to my demos and they were cool with what I was playing, and they tried to make it sound better, and they did. Cool. Yeah. So
how did the tracks come together? Is there an overall kind of arching way that everything came together? Were you? Because I know some of them you play everything on, and some of them they're on some of the stuff.
I hadn't really thought about how to make a record after Game Day.
Right.
And then I'd finished writing Larger Than Life after my friend Carlo Nunzio died, who was the drummer for the Continental Drifters. Again, not breathing very well, write a song.
Yeah.
I got a few songs out of that. But I finished that, and I did a demo of it, as is my wont, in the hit shed.
Yes, there we go.
And I played all the instruments like I like to do, just to get an idea of what's going on. And so I finished that up, and I listened to it, and I thought, well, that's actually kind of good. I wonder what I've got in the way of songs since I put out Game Day in 2018. And so I started doing a sort of an inventory, if you will, of them. And I found that there were a bunch of them and that they were largely kind of rock guitar songs and not so much power pop or Americana or anything like that. It was a rock kind of folder of wave files. And so I would listen to that in the car, and I thought, well, I could make a record.
Right.
It could work. I think I did what I wanted to do with Game Day, which was make a record all by myself. And my wife, who is very smart in these matter of these things, said, maybe you should rethink this, and maybe you should do this in the studio with a producer and a rhythm section, and just do it really fast, but keep it at a small budget and stuff. And so we figured out what the budget could be, and we did it. And those guys, Dixon and Rob and Robert, and our wonderful engineer, Jason Richmond.
Right.
And I would be remiss if I didn't mention Wes and Lisa Lachaud, who were the owners of Overdub Lane, who were also very instrumental in making this happen. Cool. So I booked 4 days, and we did it in 3.5.
There you go.
That's all the tracks and lead vocals and background vocals and overdubs.
Nice. So now, since we're talking about the Face of 68, are you making records and music for the same reason and motivations that you were 40 years ago, do you think? Is the same thing driving you?
I think I want to stay as creative as I possibly can for as long as I possibly can. I've been kind of remiss about getting out on the road just because I'm not a real road dog, I don't think. I think I have to face the facts. I like house concerts, and so I'm going to try to book some more of those soon. And I like clubs and stuff. I don't go to them very much unless friends of mine are playing, or if your adopted homeland's native band, the Beths, are performing somewhere around, that I'll go to within a 200 mile
I just
radius.
saw Jonathan from the Beths at a gig the other day.
Awesome. They are a band that gave me hope and made me want to make another record too.
It was MJ Lenderman. Do you know who he is?
I sure do. He was he played at, we have a local festival in Raleigh called Hopscotch, and it's like a 4 or 5 day thing, and I think it's been going for a while, for many years, as a matter of fact. And we played this year, and MJ Lenderman was everywhere. He was the MVP of the festival. He sat in with everybody.
Yep.
He sat in with the band that played after us called Wednesday.
Oh yeah.
And he played. I can't remember. I think Waxahachie was there, and he sat
sounds
with
right.
them. He did his own set, and he may have done some club shows, and he probably delivered a few babies, and
whatever needed to be done.
His spare time took up stamp collecting, obviously. So. But yeah, he's a guy to watch. The place that I work, which is a performing arts center here in Durham, it's a 2,800 seat theater, and MJ is coming very soon. Yeah, and so I would just go to see the show there. Yeah,
I just saw him on Monday, and I hadn't really paid that much attention. I knew the name was something I needed to be at, and thank God I went. So
did it knock you out?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, very good.
That's excellent. Excellent to hear.
All right, back to your music, though.
I'm just going to say, let me just add in right here. The reason that you and I are having this kind of animated discussion right now is because there are really great records out there by really deserving artists. Yep. So anybody that you go to a party with that says, oh, man, they're not making good records, and I haven't made a good record since 1963, that sort of stuff, which is the most revisionist bull. Just point them at MJ Lenderman.
Yeah, well, it's just laziness. They're just not bothering to look.
My God, look at all these records that are just coming out. Benmont Tench's record is incredible. Michael Delavante from the Delavantes has got a solo record that's just coming out. Murray Attaway from Guadalcanal Diary has made a devastatingly beautiful 8-song solo record that's coming out soon. He and Dixon and I did a couple of house concerts last month, and I want to tell you, it was, there were some emotional moments, I have to say. Murray's stuff was so good. So there's stuff out there. Don't stop looking.
I agree. 100%.
Okay. Off soapbox. Go ahead. You were going to ask me a question.
I wanted to talk about One for the Book, which I think is probably my favorite song on your album, and I think it's about a true story of some description. So.
From a nice idea, a disaster grew. A small time con. This guy I knew, he stole from the dead. Now his goose is cooked. When it came to pass, it was one for the book.
It's funny to me, that song is a kind of, well, I don't know what the expression you would say. It's like, it was kind of a bench warmer at one point.
Okay.
Of the songs on the record. And I hadn't really thought about it much. It's the one song that uses an acoustic guitar. It's the one acoustic guitar song on there. You know, I mean, that also says something about the tenor of this record.
Right.
So I don't know. I mean, it's a really simple song. It's only got like one part. It doesn't really have a chorus. We often talk amongst ourselves here about songs without choruses.
Oh, right.
Like Gentle on My Mind, for example.
Oh, right. I guess that is.
It's got a tag. This has got a tag, but it doesn't have a chorus. It's just verse. It's just verse after verse after verse. You know?
My favorite one is The Tempest by Bob Dylan. It's 17 minutes long and there's no chorus.
Isn't that great? Isn't that great?
Verse.
That's how you do it. Now tell me he gets out there without a prompter for that one.
I don't know how he does it.
I don't either.
But so is there a true story behind One for the Book?
It is, and you're going to try to get it out of me.
Well, I thought I'd just make sure that you're welcome to avoid it.
I gave you a whole other line of answer right there. A perfectly satisfactory line of answer. Come on. No, right. It's a sad story. It did happen. The names are kind of blurred because it's a sad story, you know, on every level. But instead of grieving, I wrote a song about it.
Which is also what's so sad about Sam is kind of about your friend Sam Moss, right?
I always knew he had the blues. This is not what I thought he'd choose. It's so sad about Sam. I don't know where I am anymore since he closed the door to the store. It's so sad about Sam.
Man, it's a
downer.
This record is an obituary column, isn't it? Good
this is
Lord.
What happens when you turn 68.
I'm telling you what. You know, it ain't all babies and sunshine from here for us. I'll tell you. So Sad About Sam is also a true story. That's about our friend Sam Moss, who was a great guitar player, sort of a big brother to all of the musicians in Winston-Salem, and a store that was a kind of a salon for everybody. He did a lot of guitar trading with the guys in Aerosmith.
Oh, okay.
They would come to his house, which is also Gene Holder's house for a while. And Gene's mom had a hairdresser salon set up in the front part of the house. Right. So Gene's mom was always around when like the guys from Aerosmith and the other bands would show up. It's funny.
Doing Steven Tyler's hair for him, right?
What's that?
Doing Steven Tyler's hair, right?
Well, she did. I'll tell you what, she did the hair of most of the rock musicians in our generation of Winston-Salem rock musicians. Mel Holder, she was just the greatest. Right. My kid, my son, who was very little at the time, we went to visit Miss Holder before she died at her salon. She gave him a little something. She had all these tchotchkes everywhere. I mean, it was the busiest thing for a 2-chair, old school, the cone over the head hairdresser salon.
Gotcha.
But it was remarkable. And I'm glad my son got to experience that room because I knew it well. Right. So,
very good. All right, to brighten things up, the two songs we just talked about.
Please.
In the middle, there's a song called Fireflies, which is just like a great garage rocker. So that's a little more cheery. Tell me about it's kind of a nuggetsy thing, isn't it?
Hanging off the deck, just wrecked, howling at the moon. No one left to stop us, and the world was up the fireflies can breathe.
It's a sort of lyrically, it's just kind of a short film, I guess, that may or may not have sound.
Okay.
And so I'm making up for the sound with this guitar and playing lead guitar. There's a lot of me playing lead guitar on this record. I'm sure
Right.
you noticed.
Yep.
I didn't fob it off on anybody this time. I took full advantage of being a late bloomer on lead guitar, and I feel like I did a great job.
Right.
And I want to also give credit where credit is due, that playing lead guitar for my friends in the band, the Paranoid Style, has really helped me push forward in that front. You know, I'm not afraid to hit a lick and hold it. You know, step on a pedal,
Right.
and turn it off. Hopefully.
Hopefully.
So, yeah.
And you do have Marty Jones on one track. I think it's called See About You. So it's always nice to hear from her.
Hey, 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 I'm gonna come see about you. Come see about you. See about you. I'm gonna come, you should too. Come see about you.
You know, it's handy that she lives in a house with a recording studio and the guy who's mixing your album. And, you know, Marty, it doesn't do much musically these days. She really paints a lot. Have you seen her paintings?
No, I haven't.
They're really remarkable. If you know, last year the Continental Drifters were lavished with a best of and a tribute CD and a book, a biography of the band. The cover art is by Marty Jones.
Okay, I'll check it out.
And it's really beautiful. It's a beautiful reimagining of all these phases of the Drifters.
Yep.
And so she, I asked Dixon. I said, would she maybe sing on this? And because I don't know how to ask people these things. I don't know. You know, Marty and I are friends, but I also don't want to intrude if she is like fully in the world of painting and does not want to stand in front of a microphone.
Right.
But she very kindly did it, and it was so great. It was
Cool.
so great. It still is. When I got it and I played it back, I cried like a little baby. See, I'm not missing the emotions. I just can't grieve.
That's what happens when you get older too. You just break into tears. It's like,
I've always broken into tears. My kids always thought I was nuts.
Right.
When the first time I hear Christmas rapping by the waitresses at Christmas season,
Yep.
boom, I'm
That's right.
I have to pull over. That song reduces me to such sweet sadness. I love it.
Man. Do you have any grandchildren?
I do. I have one grandchild. I have a grandchild, Savannah Jade.
Oh,
And
nice.
she is 2 years old. She lives in Violet, Louisiana. And she's a cutie pie.
Yep.
She's a climber.
That changes everything. I've got a couple as well that are about the same age. And yeah.
Where are
changes
they?
everything.
Are they back in the States?
Oh no, everybody's here. So I got.
Oh, okay.
We all moved
That's
together
awesome.
30 years ago.
No kidding. That's awesome. That's really, really awesome.
So yeah.
Now you need to make the film.
Well, that's everybody keeps telling me what I need to be doing, which I probably should be. I need to be making a book, writing a book, making a film, doing a radio show.
It is at first glance a pretty amazing idea.
Yeah, that's true. Not bad. I'll put it in the to-do list. But
yeah, well, Susan and Vicky from the Drifters used to have the suggestion box that didn't have a hole in it.
Right.
So that's where all those great ideas would go.
All right. So what do you got planned for the release day? Coming out on the 18th, isn't it?
Well, it's going to do that. The vinyl is going to actually be a record store day exclusive on April 12th. And
good.
I'm going to be in Dallas, Texas, of all places, because I will have been playing with Paranoid Style at a thing called Frontera Festival, which is put on by Southwest Review. Uh-huh. And it's going to be very cool. Linda Barry, the cartoonist, will be sort of the big deal there, and we're playing, so that'll be good. And I asked them if they minded if I did the next day and played at a record store. So I'm going to be at Josie Record and Music Merchandise sometime in the morning. I don't know what time it is, but they call the store if you're in Dallas.
I'll get right on it.
I know you will. I know you will. But maybe your listeners and watchers.
It could very well be. Yeah, it's everything is all over the place. Yeah, I'm not planning on making any trips to the States anytime soon. Then wait till things kind of settle down.
Yeah. Well, been a big day today over here.
Yeah, we won't go into that. Just piss people off and bore them. Anyway. And then, are you thinking ahead? What do you music-wise? What are your plans? Do you have anything?
I want to play behind this record for a while. I feel like the DBs did a great victory lap with our tour last year, and the releases of Repercussion and Repercussion stands for decibels, and that felt really good. And the Drifters are we can't get together as often as we'd like to, so we don't get together very much. But we're talking about trying to do something if we possibly can at the end of this year. I don't know. I just want to play behind this record. I want to keep playing. I've got this cool job that I like at the theater, so I like that.
Nice.
I got this family. I'm going to have empty nests in this fall, so I may be able to go out on the road more.
Yep.
But then again, who knows?
Who knows? That's it. Keep your mind open. That's the best thing.
I try to. Sometimes it takes a crowbar.
If you enjoyed this episode of the 13th Floor's Music Talk series, please be sure to subscribe to the website or to the YouTube channel. Follow us on Facebook or Instagram and wherever you find your podcasts. There's a whole lot more to discover.